Part 3.
If that involves driving them for 25 minutes in the morning or even putting them on 2 buses to get them there, they will do that.
Parental choice is a powerful force in education, but it comes at a price. It has a real and measurable impact on the attainment gap between rich and poor. Take, for example, what happens when the middle classes decide to vote with their feet. The leafy suburbs of outer London on the borders between Roehampton and Wimbledon. Middle-class territory. But stand in the morning as I did at the school gate of John Paul II High School, the local secondary, and you'll see only a tiny number of the children arriving on foot from the local area. Most come on buses, shipped in from the poorest parts of other bits of London. We might all want to send our child to the local school, but
It's got to be good. And if it isn't good, it very quickly gets a reputation. And then people say, no way. More specifically, the middle class, who do have more choices than people with less money. They say, not sending mine there. And then that escalates. It is a vicious circle. And this school is a victim of that phenomenon.
the head teacher, Edward Conway, inherited a school with a history of failure. One of the worst secondaries in London.
Give me an idea of where the children come from.
In this school, I know we're very close to Wimbledon. We don't take many students from Wimbledon. Most of our students would come from Stockwell, Balham, Clapham,
The
Brixton.
poorer areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't seem quite right, does it, that a school like this should be treated effectively as a kind of dump school where children from the most deprived areas are simply bussed in and dumped here.
I wouldn't necessarily.
I know you'd hate the word dump, of course you would, and it creates quite the wrong impression.
Absolutely.
But nonetheless, the fact is that people who live here don't want to send their children here, so therefore children who don't have the choice that these parents have, the middle-class parents, have no choice but to have them bussed in. I mean, that just doesn't sound right.
I think that a lot of our students would not possibly have this as a first choice school. The key factor in all of that is that you have to have the results as well to go with it, because parents, we know, look and measure schools on results, and if you haven't got the results that maybe other neighbouring schools might have, then obviously they're going to make their choices elsewhere. So for us, that's absolute reality.
And the results were simply not good enough. Plenty of students will tell you why, and they should know.
It was like, you get one teacher for like 3 months, that teacher will leave, get another teacher for 3 months, that teacher will leave, and it's like, like you just sort of give up, not give up, but it's like you give up because there's no point. Every time you get a new teacher, the new teacher's got a different strategy, and it's hard to adapt, and it kind of puts you off like your work because it's just thinking like, what's the point of this, we've gone over this, but the teacher doesn't know that, and it was just like, it's hard. Yeah.
You've been let down, haven't you? If that's what was going on with teaching, and you feel a bit, I don't know, angry about that.
Yeah, disappointed. Gets me upset actually, because I know if we would have consistent good teachers, we would be like A students, no doubt about it.
When we were in special measures, discipline was not good. There were lots of difficulties. I think also when schools find themselves in very difficult situations, staff don't necessarily want to work in difficult schools. It takes a certain person to work in a very challenging school. But when times get better, the environment's much better, and generally the school ethos, culture and everything is much better, and you find staff actually wanting to stay.
Brilliant.
Under Mr. Conway's leadership, the school has improved. Ofsted recently rated it as satisfactory. And that's because they put so much emphasis on exam results.
Okay, get your things, come through here, okay?
This is Claire Thompson. She runs what she calls a boot camp. It's all about getting better results at GCSE English.
The students I'm working with are struggling to gain a C, so they're CD borderline. So with these young people, usually the issues that they face is like procrastination, they concentration things, related to their work ethic rather than their intelligence. So I do things like this to to break away from the classroom and to make interesting just more modern, make learning more relevant to their learning styles. What do we know about the minutes to marks ratio? How many minutes do we spend on each question?
Depends how much marks.
1 mark, 3 minutes? 2. Double it. So it says 2 marks, 4 minutes. Okay, so right at the top, so you know. Okay?
Are you teaching them, or are you simply teaching them to pass exams?
I'm basically revising exam techniques with them. So I'm doing revision. I'm like supplementing the teaching that already exists. So which is completely focused towards an exam. So I'm teaching them how to pass their exams.
But even if the results do improve, winning back the support of local middle-class parents is still hugely difficult.
So long as the middle class don't play ball, and why should they? Because they would say, I would say, you would say, I'm not going to sacrifice my child on the altar of a particular ideology, then the vicious circle prevails.
Absolutely. I think that vicious circle does prevail. The difficulty is that obviously schools that have had challenging histories have got to work, I think, even harder to attract that particular social group back in.
If there was one thing, one big thing, that you could change about education to make this a more socially mobile society, what would it be?
It's trying to make sure that we create an equal playing field for all young people coming through, so that it doesn't matter where you go to school, it doesn't matter what part of the country you're living in, what part of the city you're living in, you know you're going to get the best deal at the school that you're going to go to.
And if the deal at the school is not good enough, well, there's always private tuition. Always has been. But never before on this scale. And it's not just the wealthier parents forking out. Claude Austin is not well off, far from it. And, like most parents, he wants his son Luke to do better than he's done with his life. So, he's employing a private tutor.
Lunch bag has been missing for 3 days, and Mum seems to have recovered completely.
Just tell me about your son, how he's been getting on at school.
He's been getting on fine. The last year, he's picked up really, really well. His reading has got much, much better.
And is that because you now have a tutor?
Because of the tutor, yeah.
So how much does that cost you?
I think it's £130 a month.
Can you manage that all right?
We have to. It's a matter of having to. Personally, as parents, we want him to do better. So with the extra help, hopefully he'll just push on a little bit more. You know, get him ready for when he goes to secondary school.
What's this baby doing?
Crawling.
Good. How will you know that it's been worth it?
When his exam results come out, you know, I was disappointed. Well, you can only do so much for them. It's for them to take it on that stage further. You can only help them so much. The rest is down to them.
Which is a huge number, obviously.
Marlene Curtis runs one of this country's largest private tutoring companies. It's a very good business to be in these days. Her strategy is to target the large swathe of worried parents who'd like to go private but can't afford to.
Recent surveys show that as many as 63% of all parents would indeed purchase private education for their...
Questions for part 3. Stephen Ball gives what further evidence of the power of the middle class? We might want to send our children to the local school, but it's a vicious circle. What does he mean? And why are so many parents investing money in private tutors?